Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Game Changers Experience live show here with myself, Adam Strong. It's interesting. I wanted to jump on here really quickly because um, I'm having some really interesting conversations over the last sort of week or so, and when you come out of the Christmas holidays or just holidays in general, you're normally in a state of momentum, aren't you? You're normally in this kind of state of momentum, and you have some great intention as to what you want to achieve. Whether it be in the next year or so or whatever it might be. Um, However, there was kind of like I remember listening to a conversation last week, and it was kind of like I felt like the the person I was speaking to was just kind of like had all these great intentions, but it was like they were trying to set up for self-sabotage. Does that make sense? So I wanted to kind of like jump on here and dedicate this video to anyone that finds it particularly difficult to really focus and get the clarity that you need in order to move forwards. I feel like this is a particularly important subject, especially after the Christmas holidays or even any particular holiday period at all, when you're getting back into that state of momentum. Now, before we get cracking, of course, if you're listening to me live, use the hashtag replay. You can do that using those hashtags. Or do me a favor, PLC, post a like or comment on the comment section below. If there's anything that resonates with you in today's video, of course, that you believe would really benefit someone, do me a favor, share this video with them, tag them, because my intention is to really get my message out to as many people as I can. You guys that are listening in on the podcast, support the show notes below as I normally do, and we'll go from there. Anyway, I wanted to quickly jump on here because I found that there were five common mistakes, if you like, for a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders that make, especially during a time of getting back into a state of momentum or a state of flow state, as I like to call it, right? So one of the big things I found in terms of is shiny penny syndrome. So you've got this massive pool of different ideas that you've kind of or hit some epiphanies over the last few weeks, and you maybe have written them down, or you thought it was a great idea or whatever it is, and now you might be kind of swamped with all these different ideas, thinking, hey, so I'm going to go after all of these different ideas. Now, the big problem with shiny penny syndrome, and obviously there are a few people in my circle that suffer from shiny penny syndrome, what tends to happen is there may be an activity, there may be a goal, there may be something you want to try, right? But the thing is, you don't want to try one thing, you want to try 10 things at once. I don't know if it kind of resonates with you guys, but what tends to happen is that when you end up focusing and, should we say, spreading your energy really thinly with too many task activities and so forth. If you try to spread your energy too thinly, what tends to happen is you tend to get, number one, you tend to get very exhausted, number one. So that's the first thing. But secondly, you're not really giving that activity or that goal or that idea really any legs, because we've only got a certain amount of energy that we can effectively put into a particular task or activity. Okay. Now, my analogy is that if you're going to start something with intention, okay, my intention is that I go all in. Okay. And what that looks like is if I make a commitment to myself, or make a commitment to try something new, I want to make sure that if, say, for example, a month or 2 months or whatever it is, I decide that this is the cutoff point of when I'm going to evaluate to see if this is going to work, okay, then I need to say to myself, did I, or did you, should we say, did you make every effort to make it work? Does that make sense? Because if you don't have this, if you I was going to say, if you end up working on 10 different projects at the same time, you really can't justify, you really can't give the focal point or the focus on turning around and answering that question and saying, did I do a great job? because the answer is going to be no. All right. So that's really, really important. So shiny penny syndrome, try to focus on not spreading yourself too thinly. So that's the first one. Secondly, and I think this is, again, this is something that I really love, something that I can be now, being human, of course, I'm not completely perfect. So I want to just kind of disclose that, by the way. But the second thing that I found particularly useful, especially when you're getting back into flow state or momentum, is by practicing discipline. Now, what does that really look like in a nutshell? Okay, well, I always find that by completing certain tasks or activities has some sort of time duration attached to that. So, for example, I always find that by blocking blocking out my day with certain tasks and activities, maybe something would take an hour, maybe something would take 30 minutes or whatever it is, and allowing time to have frequent breaks in there, allowing time to focus and prioritize things like health, for example, practicing affirmations or whatever it is that you do to grow yourself as well. But just making sure that you may start off saying slightly pretty slow, right? So you may have like 2 or 3 activities which you may have struggled in the past. And the best way to practice discipline is to actually stick within the specific time frames, if you like. And then that way you can, switch your phone off, you can eliminate the distractions in your life, and things like that, really, in a nutshell. But focus on what I call exercises, where you can practice your own disciplines, if you like. Does that make sense? So that, to me, is number 2. If you guys are enjoying today, by the way, so far, do me a favor. I'd love to hear from you guys. Post, like, or comment on the comment section below. That'd be super awesome. And again, if you're listening to me live, use the hashtag live and then use the hashtag replay. That'd be excellent. Now, the third one that I found particularly useful, especially if you do suffer from shiny penny syndrome, is one of the things that I found particularly good is to actually carry a small notebook. All right. Now you can carry a small notebook around with you, and within that small notebook, it's what we call your ideas book. Now, one of the things that what I've found, especially if you are the typical type of person that ends up staying up for most of the night because you've got so much on your mind, or you've got some, new ideas or whatever it might be, the best thing to do is to write it in your ideas book. Okay. And then what I tend to do is every couple of weeks, I'll tend to write down, in terms of like number of priority, like where am I in terms of priority? Do I need to prioritize this particular idea? Is it aligned to my vision? Does that make sense? If it is, then it gives me, more clarity with regards to execution, right? And commitment of pushing it forward. So what I tend to do is I tend to scale it between 1 and 5. So 1 means it has of least importance, 5 meaning it's a priority, right? It's super urgent. That way I can then focus on the things that's going to help me move towards achieving my vision, but it's going to help me towards, organizing the ideas that I have within my head or on my book in terms of like, element of execution and stuff. So that's to me, is really, really good. The other thing I was going to say to you is, every quarter, have a planning day for yourself, right? So, if you've got, tend to split the year up into 4 different quarters, and at the end of each quarter, spend an entire day reflecting on your achievements, on what your wins are, what are the things that you're going to do, what are the adjustments you need to make in terms of the course of action. Are you on course? Are you actually hitting some of the goals that you set as well? And in our inner circle, we do this a lot. One of the things that I get my inner circle members to do is to check in on a once-a-week basis, record their wins of the week. We'll do frequent strategy catch-ups, and I'll evaluate people's strategy planning as well for the entire year. And I feel like that really helps us to really focus and to really kind of stay on course, because otherwise we could be all over the place. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you're getting me here as well. Anyway, so that was kind of like from me, I thought that that was like really, really crucial. The other thing that I feel that we need to also talk about is multitasking. So for me, I don't believe multitasking works. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. I don't care who you are. Multitasking does not work. Okay. Because again, it goes back to shiny penny syndrome, right? Multitasking, if you're trying to focus on too many activities and you focus on your energies on too many different things at once, it's just simply not going to work. So, again, block your days up. Put your day, maybe you could start off by putting focusing on a 4-hour block, but block that up into and break it down into different segments, maybe half-an-hour segments, and focus on and that way you're really going to sort of look back at the end of the day and think, wow, I've actually achieved quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I really want you to kind of think about that as we go along and stuff like that. Now, the last one, which I believe is absolutely crucial, is tackling your fears. Okay, so everyone has fears in their life, right? Whether it be the fear of speaking to people, whether it be the whether it be the fear of failure or the fear of success or whatever. We've all got fear. I don't care who you are. We've all got fear. But what I've found in dealing with your fears is, number one is accepting that you have them. Okay, so that's the first thing, is to take responsibility for your fears. But number two is to actually tackle them, because what I found in the past is, now I could give someone, a strategy for growth, strategy for business growth, because that's what I do, right? But essentially, if you have these fears, what that's going to do is it's just going to hold you back. It doesn't matter what strategy I give you. I used to run marathons. Well, not run marathons. I used to run half marathons, actually. But I have the knowledge and know-how about how to run a marathon in a very fast time. But the thing is, you're never going to run a fast marathon if you believe that you're not even going to cross the finishing line. If you believe that you're not even going to complete it, right? That's the first thing, is to deal with the mind first. It's exactly the same with business. If I gave you a growth strategy, okay, but you have the belief system that you don't believe that you deserve success, or you believe that you're just you're not worthy, and you start comparing yourself to other people. If you start believing in that and you don't challenge that belief system, then guess what? It's not going to work. It just makes no sense. So facing your fears, really super important in dealing with that. Like I said, everyone has fears, and it's about, taking responsibility and saying, what am I going to do differently? Okay. How am I going to show up differently? So in summary, okay, because I know there's a lot of things that I've really kind of covered, and I hope that what I'm sort of teaching you guys is resonating with you in one particular way or another. I just found that particularly useful, especially in the conversations that I've had over the last sort of couple of weeks or so. So let's just summarize and put a bow on the top. So the first one is really dealing with shiny penny syndrome. I've given you guys some tips and techniques about how to deal with shiny penny syndrome, and what you should and shouldn't do, right? And some people are aware of it, right? I've got a friend of mine who I've known for a good, 8 to 10 years. She's aware of it. And the thing is, now she knows how to deal with it, right? And get herself back into focus mode. All she needs is the accountability. So if you don't have accountability, or an accountability partner, or you're in a part of an accountability group, I go and seek that out. That's really going to help as well. So that's the first one. And then the second one, I talked a little bit about the practice of discipline. So what that looks like is, part blocking some of your day, setting times and duration according to your activities, whatever it might be. So that's the second one. Practice discipline all the time. All right. It's really going to help you. That means you're eliminating all your distractions, all the things that's going to, all the things that hold you back in life. Right. So that's the second one. The third one was, carrying out a planning day, right? So we talked about the importance of a planning day and having an ideas book, if you like, carrying an ideas book, so that if you're reading through The Economist or one of Forbes magazine and you come up with this great idea, write it in your book and then scale it between 1 and 5 in terms of priority every couple of weeks. And that way that it will help you to gain you some focus, because otherwise it can completely take you off a completely different tangent, which is never a good thing, right? So you don't want to be going off on a tangent. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing activity-wise aligns to your vision. Super important. Number 4, facing your fears. So we talked about facing your fears, taking personal responsibility, making sure that you are, you're dealing with this first before even thinking about execution and commitment of your activities, if that makes sense. And then the last one is multitasking doesn't work. Okay. So for you guys, it doesn't matter if you feel like women are better than men. Okay. With regards to multitasking, I can tell you now, it's one of the most flawless activities that you can do. So listen, I don't know if a lot of this stuff has resonated with you guys. I hope that, I'm hoping that some of it has, and it's hit a bit of a keynote. I've given you some tasks and activities about how you can go about getting more focus, more clarity. I'm going to be doing some more content as well around this particular subject, because I feel like it's a really good, it's a really important topic to talk about, especially coming out of the holiday season and things like that. Now, I wanted to kind of like quickly bring your attention to something. For you guys that are listening into the podcast, I'll put all the notes below. But for you guys that are listening in live show, by the way, if you would like to achieve more focus and direction, then why don't you take the business growth quiz? It's called https / how to grow a business.scoreapp.com. It's down the bottom here. You'll see that on the scroller. It's a very simple scorecard, but it'll help you get some clarity on the area of the business that you need to focus on. It will give you an extensive report as well, which I think is going to be absolutely, it's going to be some great key information. It's going to help you become a bit more aware about where you need to focus on. And so that's my gift to you guys. And I hope that you're going to, fill in your scorecards, and we'll offer some tips and some suggestions about how you can go about doing that. So listen, I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. And if you have any questions, again, use the comment section below. And for you guys that are listening in on the podcast, thank you so much for listening in, and see you again. Hopefully see you again here on the Game Changers Experience. Take care.